Alright everybody, we're back here with the Belmont. We're just going to go over how to set it up, some tips and tricks, and things you just need to know. So first, we're going to start with the tubing. I recommend when you get the tubing to also get the extension tubing, because out of the box, the part that goes from the Belmont to the patient isn't very long. So just getting that extension tubing gives you a little more wiggle room, a little more room to move around and get things done. Then you want to get your Belmont, plug it in, turn it around. The switch is back here. Make sure you flip it up and it stays up. It will go through its cycle. And then it'll bring up a screen and it'll tell you step by step on how to set it up. So first, we'll open the door, get our tubing, and where I like to start is just getting this straight and putting the filter here. And then as you can see, you have some blue lines here, red line here. It correlates with the tubing here. You have your thick blue line, thin blue line, and your red tubing. Move this up out of the way. And then on the circle, you have a red arrow pointing up. Put that in there like that. Red tubing goes there. This gets pushed into here. Make sure this is in all the right places. Then you have this plastic piece that goes in here with the arrow facing that way. Then you have this little latch here. You want to make sure this piece is behind the thin blue line and this is over when you close it. And as you can see, I did not prime this prior to setting it up. And that's because one of the benefits of doing the Belmont is it has this little one-way valve for all the air to escape. So we'll get our saline. And another thing, there's certain things you can run and you can't run. Majority of the time, you're just going to be running your normal saline, red blood cells, and maybe some FFP. You never want to run lactated ringers or anything with dextrose. And you can get this from your Belmont rep or on the Belmont website. So we'll spike our normal saline, hang it up. And you can see this is starting to fill up this chamber here. Another trick and tip is it has these little blue caps or bits here. You want to make sure they're nice and tight. Generally out of the box they come pretty loose. You have one here and then you have one right here. I don't have the extension tubing hooked up right now because we're not going to be using it on a patient. But now this chamber's filled, you can hit this prime button, and what it's going to do is it's going to prime the tubing from here to here, all the tubing that's inside this box. So we'll hit prime. It takes about 100 mLs to do that, and you can see all the bubbles coming up and escaping here through this one valve. All right. Now we're going to prime to the patient. Make sure all these little clamps are open. All these are open so we don't get any error messages. Now you can go ahead and just tap this and it'll run pretty slow to prime this part, or you can hold it down and it'll prime much faster. So go ahead, once you're primed to the patient, go ahead and hit stop. And then we can hook it up to the patient. And then we're going to hit infuse. Another benefit of the Belmont is you can increase or decrease the rate. It'll give you the temperature of the fluids because it does warm your fluids. So we can go ahead and increase. And if you just tap it, it'll go up by a 10, or if you hold it up, it'll increase much faster. Another thing is, back before you had to collect all your blood bags and your normal saline bags to calculate the volume you gave. Here it calculates it for you. So currently we've just given 88 mLs. Another nice thing is, if you run an 18 gauge and you're trying to go like 400 mLs a minute, it won't let you. It'll sense the back pressure and it'll back itself off. Or if you're going too high, it'll just censor and alarm at you saying too high and to back off. You have this sheet here. It'll tell you how many mLs a minute you can put either a crystalloid through or an RBC. So if you're running an 18 gauge, you can put 200 mLs a minute of normal saline or 100 mLs of red blood cells. Generally, if you're going to do a transfusion, like a mass transfusion, or you're going to be using a Belmont, you're going to want a central line, which if you're doing a triple lumen, it consists of 116, which is your main line, and then inside you have two 18 gauges. So you want to use that 16 gauge because you can put 400 mLs of normal saline a minute, or a little over 200 of red blood cells a minute. And then if you have a cordis, you can just put in almost a liter in a minute. And that's it. That's the Belmont.